Well, I was going to tell him that I'm sorry I wasn't here last week because I had a REAC event, so I had a meeting there. Dave, I'm going to put this out. If my client comes while I'm in here, have him sign this, you can come get me.
All righty, we'll do.
Will this let Joe get on by himself? Any participants on by themselves?
Yeah. I've sent out reminders, I just posted another one, so. I had one scheduled to show up on the group yesterday and it showed up, so I need reminders for people.
Yep. Hitting vacation times and people are busy.
Last week go.
Oh, well.
Have a nice holiday weekend.
Not too busy.
It's good. Finally got some air in my bike tires and got to go cycling.
Nice.
Part of our weekend typing up an offer, getting an offer ready for submitting this today, and the client last second said, nah.
Oh, don't you hate that?
Like,
No way.
there's no, there's nothing about some of this, so that's fine, that's fine.
I love wasting my time.
That's right.
Thank you.
He saw another property he wants to see before he decides.
Oh, yes, the grass is always greener.
We'll do that today, and hopefully.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me there?
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. So I am teaching you a little bit remotely, and we're going to sort through this. I'm about to have some live attendance here. I'm in Pittsburgh. As we were scheduling this, I didn't realize that the staff, some of the folks who were going to run the team meeting here in Pittsburgh were on vacation at the beach this month during team meeting. So I am here, and so Rachel's going to help us out. And actually, this is good because the budget model, which is what we're going to do today, the budget model is actually right up her alley. So we're in good hands doing it alongside Rachel. But I wanted to honor the commitment to get you guys the education and training that we talked about. So as I've been struggling here with the technology side of things, So as I do that and sort that out, does anybody want to share some of the ahas from what we've done so far? And specifically, I can't see the room, so I need a little love, a little help in the room. I see some hands, so a little bit of help in terms of what have you guys taken away so far? So we started with the economic model, then we moved to the lead generation model, right? And now we're moving to the budget. So what have you taken away from economic and lead gen so far?
I missed last week, so I don't know.
Joe, we have David and Tina here.
Okay. So I'm all ears. Tina, you missed last week. You were here for economic though, right?
Correct. Yeah, I apologize. I had a REAC leadership development meeting last Tuesday that conflicted, that I needed to lead last week. So I apologize for missing last week.
No worries there. We've had hit or miss attendance between people, and the reality is no single model is the only model. So it's okay to kind of work through them all. What have you, so economic model, what was your takeaway from that 2 weeks ago? I know it seems like it's forever ago.
If I work it, it works. If I don't, it doesn't. Kind of think it's that simple, which I often like to think it's much more complicated than that.
So
But I do think that's what it comes down to.
what's the bold law?
What you focus on expands.
That's true. That's the one I was looking for. Thank you. It is actually, what I was gonna say is success is simple, not easy,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I figured out, I'm gonna go hardwired here.
Can we make him bigger? Like, can we make him the whole size of the screen? Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
this is gonna work much better. Thank you. Okay, and I'm gonna have I'm gonna
Can we
start
put it up
off.
there so he can see us.
Sure.
You guys there?
Because you know,
Yeah.
it sucks to teach an empty room.
We're rearranging.
We're moving up.
He was moving on up.
We're gonna sit in the front row so that he can at least see our heads.
Okay.
Because Pastor always says it sucks to, preach to an empty congregation, like the 8:30 service. And I've tried to teach when there's an empty room. So at least if he can see that we're here, I think it's pleasant for the instructor. Good morning.
I appreciate that.
Let me dress.
We're here.
All right, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. And you can see them. All right, we made that work. Okay. So I'm gonna go in and get
We can't
the
see what he's seeing. We can only see him.
party started. You can hear me and see me, right?
I can hear you and see you.
Awesome. You're seeing that.
He's supposed to be able to see his screen.
Not yet.
Okay.
So any other takeaway? So I want specifically from the economic model, if there's anything that you connected in terms, so because like what you said.
Gotten out of the last two classes.
I think for me, Joe, this is Dave. Just seeing the total number of sellers and total number of buyers that I need to reach and then close on to meet my goal. Actually seeing the actual numbers and following the formula.
Yeah. So speaking of formula, what's going to happen is we're going to take the economic model and we're going to convert that into the budget model. So if you want to think of it, do you guys remember the original triangle at the beginning of the red book?
Listing leverage.
So it's around leads, listings, leverage. Do you have a red book? Let me grab you one. It's the MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent book.
Page 44, I think.
Do you see that? There's a triangle that says think a million,
Oh. it's a different-
earn a million. I'm gonna get one for Blake here in the room. I'm gonna grab him a copy of the book.
Hmm. 37. Mhm.
Okay. So
Oh, or maybe 67.
67 is exactly right. That's the pitch. So think a million, right? Then what?
Earn a million.
Okay, time out. Don't go further. What happens at earn a million? What are you doing it to earn a million?
Working your butt off.
That's the work, right? Okay, what's the next one?
Net,
So what's the difference between earn and net?
Uncle Sam.
and you're putting money back in your business.
Okay, Uncle Sam's definitely one of them. Anything else? So Blake in the room says straight profit after expenses. That's the budget model. Okay. Because it's think and then earn and then net and then what?
Receive.
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 So what's the difference between netting and receiving?
I think net, you still have to pay out stuff. Like you still have to be responsible, even if it's just your home expenses, not your business expenses. You still have to pay out. Where when you receive it, like that's your profit.
Yeah. So that's a great way to think about that. So if you thought of your business as separate than you, then when you net $1 million as a business, do you as a human, as a single person, do you receive $1 million if your business netted $1 million?
No,
No, why not?
you still have overhead.
Personal overhead, right?
Yeah.
That's right. So the budget model and what we're going to do today, and I have, Rachel has a workbook that you guys are going to go through as we kind of pass the baton over to her in person. But what we're going to talk about is like the budget model is about two things. One is the budget of the company, of the business. And we're going to go through kind of the anatomy of how you should be looking at that from that budget model perspective. And then the reality is, and this is something that's so critical for us, I think as a market center, as a company, for us to educate our agents is the personal financial side. Who has a personal P&L?
And what?
I can see you guys now.
Profit and loss.
Blake in my room says he does. Anybody else? I don't see any hands, so I'm going to go with maybe we don't feel super confident about that. So the reality is that very few real estate agents that I've, like, even as they're coming into coaching, I've seen millionaire level real estate agent businesses where the agent who's running that company is not running a personal P&L and doesn't really know their numbers. You end up in tax issues, you end up in personal financial issues. And so up the front end of your business is like the lead generation, right? And that's where all the sexy conversation happens. It's like, oh, we talk about different lead sources. We talk about how to drive more business. That's the earning part. But the keeping part and understanding where those financials need to fall into line, that's very critical as well. So I'm gonna do a screen share over to you. Hopefully. Just very much clicked on the wrong thing. Let me see what I got here. Yes. Hang tight.
Yeah.
Can you all see this?
Yes.
Good, okay. So economic model is where we were leaving off, right? So we had talked briefly during the economic model that as your net income, if you want to net income of 40%, right? Your GCI needs to be $2.5 million. That's the net $1 million of the budget model, right? And of the MREA model, right? So if the company's net income is $1 million, then that requires the numbers that you see on the screen here, right? That requires, and that, sorry, I know I'm in the way there. That requires 50% seller, 50% buyer being a complete total of 333 seller appointments and 357 buyer appointments to gross 2.5 into net 1 million. If your company nets $1 million off of this model here, right, there isn't any line item here that says Uncle Sam. So that's why the personal budgeting has to happen beyond this. One a day, right? Easy peasy.
Oh, yes.
One of each. Okay, so that's the economic model that we went through, and we went into that. Now I'm going to come back here. Ooh, sorry, totally blew past that. All right, so the budget model. So there's really two tools in one, and again, the item that I shared to Rachel is going to be a workshop that you guys can go through, because at the end of the day, this is not so much something, I mean, there's an aspect of teaching this. I definitely recommend Agent Financials is coming up. Michelle already has it on the calendar. I saw it is in September. Do I have that right, or is it July? Rachel, do you know that?
I'll confirm. I can't remember.
Okay. I was looking at the, I meant to announce that this morning, and I was looking at it last night, but I know it's already on the regional calendar. So Agent Financials is already in there. Highly recommend that, right? I'm going to look at this from a high level of what is the budget model. So there's two specific things. There's the budget model, or the budget tool, which is really planning. That's where you're looking at so budget is your proactive. That's your projections, and your P&L is your actual. Okay. So thinking in terms of, like, do you have a budget in line where you say, this is what I intend to spend, this is what I believe I can safely do, and creating that, and then projecting returns and cash flow, and kind of looking there. Your P&L is like in real time, what's the profitability, what's the ins and outs, actual versus projection of the business in real time. Okay. So one, when I asked if you had a P&L like that, the problem is that your P&L is that's the accountability to your budget. All right. So this is where this starts to come into play. And I think the frogs in boiling water is a really great analogy for what happens in the financial side with real estate agents. Our business is kind of doing what it's doing. We mentally budget, so we have some loose idea of what that budget's going to look like, but we haven't really done that firmly. If our actual business lags behind, then the money lags behind, but we don't adjust because we wrote a budget, or we have one in our mind and we haven't really taken it to hold it accountable in a P&L, and we're not reviewing it on a regular basis. So the recommendation is to review your P&L on a bi-weekly basis, because if you are the frog in the boiling pot, is the analogy is, you can put a frog in boiling water, and when you first drop him in, he'll stay there if you put him in a pot of water, and he'll just swim around, right? And then if you turn the temperature up, and it gradually starts to heat and heat and heat until it's boiling, the frog won't ever jump out if you do it gradually. Well, that's the same thing that happens from a financial perspective with real estate. all the time. Because as we start to lag behind and lag behind and lag behind our projections of what we would like to earn, are we also paying attention and auditing our financial picture to make sure that our actual versus our projection isn't putting us in a situation where we're spending like we're making $1 million and we're making $500,000, right? That would be a problem. That's when you run out of money. So making sure that you're keeping that picture of your financials in a short window, look at P&L biweekly. I mean, I think you could maybe get away with your P&L on a monthly basis at the worst case scenario, but biweekly is probably the least you'd want to do. So there's a few terms and we're going to go through this. So does anybody remember on the economic model what the percentage was for cost of sales?
30.
30. Okay. And then the question always turns to, well, what the heck is cost of sale? So cost of sale, your cost of sale is the cost of acquiring revenue, which is another way of saying it's money that you only spend when you make money. Okay. So an example of that is your split or your cap, right? Because you don't pay cap or split money to the brokerage until you earn money. But you have a fixed cost of sale on your split because we're a capping model, unless you're on a team. Now this stuff starts to really scale because like you're looking at $1 million budget on $1 million business, a $300,000 cost of sale. How does that happen? How do you spend $300,000 as a cost of sale? If you're on a team or you're running a team and you have a buyer's agent who's on a 50-50 split, and every deal that's closed as part of working with that buyer's agent, 50% of the money goes out the door to that agent. That falls under cost of sale because it's money that's spent while making money. Make sense now? 60,000. So the cap money is in there too. But so what'll happen is as you're building a team, let's say, right? As you're building a team, you'll have your cap money or your company dollar will be in there. And then you'll figure out. So that's why your economic model is so tied to your budget model, because your economic model tells you how big your business needs to be to hit your financial goals, right? So if you're going to do 300 units or 200 units or even 75 units, right? And you're like, okay, cool. I'm going to do 75 units and I want to bring somebody into my team. Well, how many units are they going to do? Oh, they're going to do 20 of the 75 units. Okay, right? Well, 20 units at 50%. Now I need to figure out what my cost of sales is going to be and this is why teams run out of money. It's because they don't do this math and they build it based on the emotional feeling of being busy, not based on the math of making money at the end of it. So a lot of teams run unprofitably.
So your cost of sale, the team perspective, so you have a cost to give those leads to the team.
Correct. That's correct. That's exactly right. So I don't know if you guys can hear Blake, but Blake just said, so you're looking at that from a team perspective, not from the agent perspective. And the short answer of that is there's both, right? But this model is running off of your business, not you as a person. So your business, if you want to build $1 million business, but it's 4 people, then all of their math goes into that. Okay. So cost of sale is you spend money while making it. Operating expenses is going to be 2 versions. It's either fixed or variable. And those are the costs of running business, whether or not a transaction occurs. So fixed expenses, those are going to be things that just literally don't go away. They don't vary from month to month, week to week. And then there's going to be, then there's variable. So a variable expense might be, so here's one, a fixed expense, your car. Right? Or something that's your mortgage, right? Those are things that happen every month the same. How about natural gas? In the summer, they're all but 0. And in the winter, it's really high, right? So those are just 2 examples of fixed versus variable on your operating expenses, both from a personal or business perspective, right? Because if you're a single agent then that may not be such a big deal. But if you're running a team and you have $2,000 a month in lead generation costs, and we're gonna look at the chart of budget expenses, but if you have $2,000 a month in lead generation expenses, is that fixed or variable?
Thanks.
It's fixed unless your budget sucks, right? So the problem, what you'll do, like, you need to hold that money accountable then. If you're spending $24,000 a year in lead generation costs, you need to be auditing that to make sure you're getting the ROI that you anticipate, right? So in that situation, that ROI, like, you want to be having a 4 times ROI on your lead generation expenses. And if you're not, then you're doing a red light, green light exercise where that's why you need to audit it every time. And that's where the P&L comes into play. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you were doing, let's say you were doing a mailing.
Yeah.
That would go operating cost of sales.
Correct. Yes. That's exactly right. Yeah. So his question was, and I'm just going to reiterate the questions because I'm not sure how good the audio is. So his question was, so if you're doing a mailer and you realize that, like, you're spending a certain amount of money and it might cost you $30 per cost of lead, or cost per appointment or whatever, that's going to be an operating expense, not a cost of sale. That's correct, because you're going to spend the money on that mail, but you didn't necessarily have a closing. The things that come out at closing are your royalties and your cap and your splits to other agents. And that's really about it. There's very, very little else that I've ever seen that would qualify for cost of sale, because it's almost always going to fall over to operating expenses. So gross profit's going to be revenue left after cost of sale, and net income is pre-tax income after cost of sale and operating expenses. Those are the 2 definitions we're going to use for gross and net profit. Any questions so far? So again, you saw this already because this is from the economic model, but you have your total GCI that you're looking to earn, right? So we're going to use $1 million just because it's a big number and it's an even number. So if we want $1 million total GCI, we need to be banking on the fact that 30% of that's going to be going to cost of sale, 30% of that to operating expenses, and 40% can break down as a net income. Now, here's something else to think about. And this is where things get interesting from a budget model perspective. When you know your numbers, you can make educated decisions. 40% net income. Now, if your business is a $400,000 business and a great barometer for net income is 40%, that's $160,000, right? So you're earning $400,000 to be bringing down 160, right? If you're in a partnership, how's that math look at that point? To split $160,000 in profit, how's that feel? To work to make 400 and make 80, how's that feel? Not so fun. Blake's laughing here, so I don't think he wants to do that. But what if your partnership, you're also splitting the work, and so cost of sale is sliding over into net profit because you don't need to have as much cost of sale because you essentially have a lean team rather than a true partnership where you're offloading everything. So the budget model can really dictate your hiring pathway, and it can also dictate a little bit of your the decision making for how that money is going to flow. So in that situation, I will tell you specifically with Ryan and I, when we were building our retail team, we made very educated decisions on operating expenses and cost of sales because we were running a partnership team, but we were able to do that in a way where we kept our overhead low, and we had very advantageous splits for the people on our team outside of the model of the MREA. We were not 50-50 splits on our team, but we were able to do that because our op expense was low, and it allowed us to create enough net income where the math worked. So be careful, because there's another bold law that comes into play here that's really important. Don't judge your insides based on other people's outsides. I didn't say it right. Can anybody say that one? Anybody know it?
Close.
Yeah, Blake says, don't judge a book by its cover. It's the bold law, right? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Don't judge, don't judge you others outs, or don't judge your insides based on others' outsides.
yeah, that's pretty close to it.
I forget, I'm messing that wording up, but that's where you see people who look like they're running big teams or running big businesses. And if you look at the underneath of the financials of it, it's a complete dumpster fire. So just be careful that you don't over estimate what's going on underneath there. Okay. All right. So here's examples of cost of sales versus OpEx. And this is from a $2.5 million gross organization netting down to $1 million. Because if you look here, this is saying $750,000 in cost of sale and $750,000 in operating expenses, 30% and 30%. This is just percentage based, but this lets you make
Zero. Huh? You should lump off a zero. It's too overwhelming.
there are multiple $1 million entities in both the markets that we're talking about, York or Pittsburgh. So, I mean, you can call it $100,000 organization if you're running a business of one. We talked about what does your boardroom meeting look like. I don't mind having that conversation. If you're running $100,000 business, your cost of sale is probably limited just to your splitting, right? Your company dollar split. And then all the rest of that really falls over back under net profit from an owner operator standpoint, right? But the operating expenses is really where it starts to get interesting. So one thing that you're seeing there on operating expenses is compensation. What is that really talking about?
Is that like your photographers and the people who put out your signs and that kind of stuff?
Good question. No. So those are going to be vendors, and I'm going to always put. So I've seen photography and people putting signs out actually go under lead generation. As wild as that sounds, because if it can help you generate leads, I'm going to put it in that bucket. Compensation is going to be staff salary or owner salary. So it takes for your business to get to a level where you can do an owner's draw or owner salary, you need to break that number where you can pull it out of a profit and move it up to operating expenses. You have to be big enough to do that. Does that make sense? But in a situation like this, right, where you're looking at a $2.5 million overall business, where that to the extent that you're going to have a $750,000 operating expense, if you're doing $2.5 million, and I think that based on the economic model that we were running off of, you're talking 600 appointments. This team to run 600 appointments or to set 600 appointments would probably need to be doing something in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 ISAs, 2 admins, right? And by the time you're doing that math and you're thinking, okay, $40,000 to $50,000 per salary for people on the team, $300,000 actually doesn't, it goes like that at a $2.5 million gross. I'm going to show you the next thing is the full chart of accounts, or I'm sorry, this is the GCI to net. So here, this is actually going to give you a little bit more of an idea. So what you see here is, and I was mentioning that it'll change as the scale of the company goes up. From a numbers perspective, to get your net income really good is big. You can actually get your net income higher when you're smaller. So if you see here, I'm putting my mouse over the first column, and if you're in the room, just take a look at that. At $150,000, you said let's take a zero off of it, so we did. So at this number here, you're seeing cost of sale at 19.5, right? So that's going to look like cap plus royalty, something like that. Then you have your gross profit, which is going to be 87%. Then you're going to back out your expenses. And in this situation, $57,000 worth of fixed expenses to run a $150,000 business. Lets you net 73.5. The better you do on your expenses, the better you do on your bottom line. But you're running at a 49% net income percentage in your budget at a small company. The place that you see it really change is somewhere between 340 and 640. And when I was a MAPS coach, we actually had a different chart that actually had a breaking point in between those. Because between 340 and 640, look at the difference in cost of sale. It goes from 26% cost of sale to 33. Why the big jump at that point? What's cost of sale made of?
Your staff.
Get more
and your-
staff.
It's not staff. Who is it?
Your caps and your buyer agents.
Yes, it's your agents. And the reason is between 340 and 640. Now that might sound big. That's not crazy, guys. At between, you know, to run a $400,000 business, GCI, 10 million. You can run a $10 million business doing that. Maybe 12, right? And we have multiple organizations in both offices, York and Pittsburgh, that are running at that level. So why that big jump is because that's where you need to add the agent support, and those agents need to get paid a split. And so immediately you see that difference that hits you in cost of sale, right? Which drives your net profit difference from a 38% net profit to a 30% net profit. There's actually a plateauing that starts to happen from a financial perspective as you're growing, that you have to break through that, because at a certain point you actually plateau on what you can make from a net profit while you're growing. So you're doing more deals but not making more money, and then boom, you break through that plateau and then you hit the other side. Yes.
A little bit like.
No, because next week is the organizational model. Blake asked me to talk about the team structure and I told him no. So the organizational model we'll do next, but now you're starting to see how these pieces fit together, right? Because you have we started with the economic model. That's your business plan. It's your total financial picture. Then we went to the lead gen model. That's the earning of $1 million, by the way. Your lead gen model feeds how much money you can make. The more leads you get and convert them, the more money you can make. The budget model is how do you hold your money accountable and how do you kind of plan for that growth trajectory? The organizational model, which is next week, is how do you bring people on? How do you make the decisions? Why does the MREA tell you that the first hire should be an admin as opposed to another agent? This budget model is the answer. The answer to that is because if you bring a fixed expense of a $40,000 admin on or a VA on at $20,000, that's cheaper than a 30% cost of sale on your total amount of sales. That's why the MREA tells you that your first hire should be administrative, not a producer. A lot of agents are like, oh, I want to alleviate my pain, so I want to bring on another agent and they're going to go do my work for me. Well, that's cool, except I told you, right? Don't judge your other people's outsides. So when you see that and you're looking at that, that's cool, except that their bank account is not nearly what it should be because they're just offloading the most dollar productive thing that they could have done. Does that make sense, everybody? You guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So and I'm not saying no to teams or team building or any of that type of stuff. I want to encourage you to think, how can you leverage, because this is actually the budget model becomes a leverage conversation, right? So from that perspective, that's why we've gone to TC. That's why we've gone to showing assistance. And I'm not saying we in any particular right or wrong answer there, but the reason that a lot of people in the industry have gone to TCs or showing agents rather than full-blown buyer's agents is because it actually helps the margins and lets you have a little bit more scale for the money. Okay. The days of hiring an admin at $50,000 or I'm sorry, at $35,000 to $40,000, which is when this was originally written, those days are gone, right? To be able to find work for you for $2,800 a month and do that full time, with inflation and all the cost of living, that's a very hard ask. So now you're really talking about a $50,000 expense, which now it becomes harder to do that, right? So if you can bring somebody on to do TC and pay that transactionally, that keeps your expenses attached to your closings. And if you don't have a closing, you're not paying your TC. That's why that model has become so attractive. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Take a picture of this screen.
Gonna have to.
So take a picture of this screen, or if you want the easy way, you can go to page 193. That's the first part of the budget model. Okay. Anybody ever see that before? Silence. No?
Long time ago.
Long time
Because apparently at some time I
I think
did,
it's
because I
different.
wrote number 10, taxes.
Yeah, right? So, since the book was written, right? Since the book was written, he's gotten a little bit more open and granular about this. So page 157 is the expense details, right? That are attached to that. And then page 190, I just lost it. 193 is the other aspect of that. So between the two of those, what you're seeing is the percentages. There's averages on the left side and best practices on the right side, and they have it broken out based on $1 million GCI and $2.5 million GCI businesses. This is where I'm going to leave you off with Rachel, because what I'm going to ask is that you guys start to go through and start to build out your operating expense percentages and your budget model for your business to be able to function and have done this. I mean, if you've never done this, you should do it at least once to understand what the budget of your company or of your business, your company would look like, but also to understand, like, if you did goal setting, right, which you all should be doing goal setting, we've talked about it, and that's actually the class later this afternoon is mid-year goal setting as well. For my Pittsburgh office, we're doing PC mid-year goal setting. But if you're doing goal setting, you should know what the budget of your goal looks like. If you just pick some willy-nilly number, I want to sell 30 houses, right? And I'm selling 30 houses, an average sales price is $6,000 GCI per deal. I'm making 180 grand this year. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to go to the budget model. I'm going to say, all right, I'm between 150 and 340 on my budget model, right? And so now I need to know, okay, cool. Well, can I afford to hire somebody? Well, probably not at 180, but maybe as I head towards the north side of that, as I pass 180 towards 300,000, then it might make sense for me to make a full-time hire, right? I'm going to look at lead generation costs. And so, by the way, Tina, you were saying, like, where's the photographer go? That's where you're looking at listing management is going to go under your listing process. Yeah, we're going to do it over there. I'm passing this class. Yep. First, the front table. No, the table up here. In the front. Big table outside your office. We're gonna sit down there. Yeah. No, I'm wrapping up now and then we'll go over there. Sorry. My ALC is getting here, so that's where I have to go. So, but occupancy, right? If you're renting desk space, right? You at $150,000, your occupancy should be like 2.9%. That percentage goes down because occupancy doesn't scale linearly, right? So $400 a month occupancy at $150,000 business, right? There are some offices, by the way, that won't allow you to rent office space unless it fits your budget model of your business. So they actually tier it based on production levels. I'm not telling Ryan to get any crazy ideas or Rachel, but right, you want to set yourself up for success. You don't want to
problem with occupancy.
You don't want your occupancy. Yeah, you don't want your occupancy to be 12% of your earnings, right? Education and coaching. There's a reason why at MAPS they set a cap of $150,000 GCI to be in the weekly maps. That was $1,000 a month. And it's because what was happening was the cancel rates of agents who were earning under $150,000 a year in GCI, the cancel rates were through the roof. Well, duh, you look at the budget model and you say, oh my gosh, we're setting these agents up for failure because they're not earning enough GCI to fit the budget model. They're paying $1,000 a month. That's out of alignment. You see how the budget model starts to really come full circle when you think of it like that? Maybe. Are you guys feeling a certain way about money at this point, or am I missing the boat? Are we all good? You guys okay in York?
Decontrol.
I'm feeling overwhelmed just because like you're talking $1 million net. I'm nowhere even close to that. So I need it like broke down on a smaller scale.
Yeah, that's why I think this is good.
That's why this is the one that you guys are going to work off of, and you're going to just sit down with. I know that, right? I actually think one of the challenges with the MREA as a book in general is that the idea of being a millionaire real estate agent in itself is a little overwhelming, right? But what it does is it gives us best practices for businesses. Stay on the left side of this, and as you guys go through the exercise with Rachel, and I'm going to share that document with you guys as well. But as you go through the exercise with Rachel, it will start to educate you just enough to be, hey, am I crazy out of alignment on some of my things, or am I good, right? That's all you want to do. Like, this is best practices, don't beat yourself up over it, okay?
Okay.
Rachel, I'm going to pass the baton to you so I can get ALC rolling. I got my folks are here and want to take care of that. So I shared that link with you, and you can either print those docs out or you can do that with them. It's actually it's an online worksheet that they can do in if they'd like to do it on a computer, but either way. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody. Okay. I'll
Thanks,
see you
Joe.
next week back in York. So I will see you there.
You guys prefer me to send it to you
1:30.
or this is where we're starting. We're going to start with this pre-work worksheet.
I'm going to leave this off.
I'll start with paper first.
Okay, start
Yeah,
with paper
so
first.
So this is just thinking.
They're just going to go over a worksheet. If you want, I'll send it to you and you can do it. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to hop out because he's going to go back into his office. So I'll catch you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So it all starts with goals. I feel like that. What do you feel? Where do you want to be? That's where it starts. And that's where I am good at goals. So the amount of money that you need for the lifestyle that you want and to get out of debt, what's that number? It's going to be different for all of you. Think about it. Or if you can't specifically think about it, just write down a number, a guess.
So are we talking though like gross or net when you think about that?
First. Because then we're gonna.
An annual number or, okay.
Everybody got it?
No, 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 don't know.
What are your business expenses annually? Let's,
My head,
That's a
yeah.
great question.
let's think
Yeah.
about all of your expenses. Let's write them down.
I did that last night.
You did?
I did.
Okay. So let's go
Good for
through
you. Like, I have no idea. Like, I'd have to
That's-
go back to my taxes and look.
forcing yourself to think about what the expenses, what your expenses are. Helps to know, to really make you think of them all at once instead of one by one.
Yeah,
So let's,
I'd have to go home and dig in my folder and see what I pull out for my taxes, you know?
yeah,
Well, you can just look at your bank statement and your charge card statements and then take off of there what you spend on average in a month. And that's kind of what I didn't pull my taxes out, but.
Lori, what are some of your business expenses?
So I have a VA. I do rotor.com lead gen. I do AM cards for birthday, anniversary, home anniversary cards. I do some stuff with Prospect Plus, which is mailers for new listings under contracts and sold. Bright Photos, Rayak, Keller Williams, some Facebook ads. I don't do a lot of that, but some. I have QuickBooks, and then my office rent. And then I pay a guy to make sure my computer does not have viruses and all that crap. But he's only $7 a month.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's what I came up with. And then but now I've done masterminds, which is not a monthly expense.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Right,
That's-
education, continuing ed. Mhm.
And like bold, not bold,
Mhm.
we did that. So
Yeah.
like that stuff that I don't know how you break that down. Because that's not really a monthly expense, that's a one-time
No.
expense.
If you calculate what you would spend in a year in education and then break that out into 12 months.
Right.
That would be the best way to track it on a monthly basis, because if you plan on spending a certain amount of money every year on education, if you have a budget for education, then you can save for that education instead of paying it back to yourself. That makes sense. You can build up a reserve instead of.
Right. It is freezing.
It's cold. Blow right on me.
Yeah, I know, me too. I'm like, ah.
So what's our annual REAC fee?
Rayak, so I have 1,400 a year because,
And those parade ones.
Yeah, I don't know.
oh no, Rayak was only, I have a
12?
key card for them. What else do we have for Rayak? Oh, that's I missed that, that's 600.
We have our, we have like the bright fees. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
well,
not
the-
technically REAC.
Right.
but-
No, those I
anymore.
broke, so I have 720 for Bright.
Yeah.
Because I also paid that 1325 for my web. like, Whatever.
And there's such a lock and there's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I put under Rayak though as a key card for 159.
And Supra.
So your total dues with lockbox subscription is $1,029.50. However, that is only paying your lockbox fee up until June 30th. So you will have to
Right.
pay your second half of the year for that.
Yeah, like I already paid mine.
Mercedes paid it.
So 1,500-ish.
So that, what'd you say, 1029? That does it, that includes 6 months of the Rayak.
That only includes 6 months of the lockbox fees.
Yeah, that's another 159.
This is where I would rather go home and clean my toilet. Like, honestly, like, this is like
Painful for you?
painful and like, I would rather just not do it at all. Like,
Me
it's
either,
so, like, at the bottom of my list that I really would rather go home and clean my toilets, which are not like high on my priority of things that I love to do, but this would be even below that.
Just looking at your expenses in general,
Looking at
or
All
forcing
of-
yourself to think about it?
this,
So what about goals? Like, what about projecting or thinking about in the next year, what you would want your goals to be? What you would want to make in the next year to be able to do the things that you wouldn't do? Is that something that makes you not want to clean toilets?
yeah, I do better with the carrot than the
Uh-huh.
stick.
Yeah.
You know, like with a goal big enough to pull me through rather than something to push me towards,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um,
You would rather, you want to go for the thing that you really want instead of thinking about all the
Shit
things
that I
that
have to-
get you
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But all the things that get you there, things that get you that big thing,
Right.
I know.
Like,
The details of it. For the sake of the exercise. What's your average commission amount? You don't have to say it out loud.
does that mean like the dollar amount or the percentage, like
A dollar amount,
per transaction?
your average commission.
Cheat off this little shit.
So for like, I'm sorry to back up for a second, like the business expense, we're not putting in like our mileage and all that stuff now.
You can.
Can, okay, it's gonna be well. See, that's some of the stuff I still don't know, being new to the. Like how much of my internet can I take? How much of my cell phone? How much of my,
Mhm.
all those different things?
So I think you can take all of your stuff in, can't you?
I don't know. I just put it in the thing and give it to the CPA. I don't know.
Mhm.
Like I just put the amounts. I don't know what he does with it.
So
This would,
I
that would be a good.
I
CPA
take all my
question.
Yeah.
internet, I take all my internet and I take all my cell phone.
I mean, I would assume so, but I don't know.
I mean,
I
they
just-
never question
And then if you have a home office, you can take a certain amount of square feet.
it. You have to take your square footage and divide it by the number of rooms that's in your house.
Yep.
And then that one, you can take
That percentage of
whatever,
like your
say you have
utilities.
10 rooms, you can take 1/10
Yep.
of your
Square footage.
Okay.
mortgage, of your,
Insurance, of your electric, of your propane, of your everything.
Water.
Yeah, all of that.
Sweet. Well, I did a rough estimate of these two. So,
I don't know these numbers off the top of my head. I'd have to look them up. Like, number of buyers and sellers sold last year. Look that up.
well, like, I've never even kept track of appointments I've gone on.
Oh, I
It just
don't
says
either.
number listing, number of buyer appointments gone on. I have no clue.
No, I don't either.
Do you track that information somewhere?
No.
I've never, like, I've never thought about keeping track of just my
Your
appointments.
conversion rate?
Yeah. That's why I'm here today.
No, my coach is always like, so how many appointments did you go on last week? I don't know. Let's look at your calendar. I don't know.
Wow. It's a tool. This is like the second part of my goal setting that I do individually is I do the 1-3-5. You start, that's your one goal broken down into 3 categories and then 5 tasks for each of those 3 categories. So I have that reversed. Yeah, it's 3 and then 5 tasks for each of those 3. And then breaking that down further into monthly goals is the 411 worksheet. Anybody ever seen this? Have you done it? Kind of?
Kind of, yeah. We had it in Ignite.
Yeah. So if you take your annual goal, whatever that is, it can be a place that we can turn into a monetary value that you want to visit. It can be paying something off that we can turn into a monetary value. It can be a goal of how much you want to make for the year. And then we take that into, there's 3 categories, 5 tasks for each, and then we break that down into monthly goals to complete each of those 5 lists or 3 lists of 5 tasks. So if you think of one, let's everybody stop and think about what you want your yearly goal to be. What could that be?
Like it's what I want to make.
Yeah, we did that with the economic.
So,
Wow,
yeah, so
Joe.
mine is 250.
So what 3 things can you do that would get you there?
Phone calls for lead gen.
Okay. You, Jen.
See, this is where I get stuck because I don't know.
Mhm.
So 3 things to get me there. Of course, sell property, but that's not real, you know.
Right, that
that's not
comes from lead
specific.
gen.
Yeah. See, I don't know how, like, where to get, I don't know.
Do you have any passive income? Like people in your down chain?
No.
Or rentals or?
Nope.
I mean,
No, I have part ownership in Hanover and the settlement company, so I guess that's passive. But I don't know what that's gonna be yet because, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. It's not something you count on, you know, for income.
So lead generation is for clients that you have not had.
Okay, so then sphere of influence would be another one.
Past client follow-up.
the prospecting versus marketing things.
So like I do get a lot of referrals. So, but that's all gonna, I think, go under sphere of influence, right? So did I get 3 yet, or do I still need one more?
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's
Marketing?
okay.
Like, I guess marketing, right? Like you're, because you said you did postcards and you did birthday
Yeah.
cards and you did.
And I do home anniversary cards. So prospecting, I guess. Would be my 3rd. For new, I guess, prospecting new clients.
So then we're going to go further into specifics of lead gen. What type of lead gen are you doing? Are you committing 2 hours a day to phone calls?
No, but I should be.
We all should be.
I know that I should be doing it, and I keep telling myself I need to do that, and I find other things I need to do before I do that, but that should be my number 1 thing.
I know. Why is it that that
Um,
one,
Because it's just hard,
it is hard. You know, it's like,
that mindset.
I would rather,
I think if I could
Like-
do one day and get like at least one positive result, but I'm always worried, what are people gonna say to me? Or are they gonna, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
that, it's a fear.
you know what I heard recently in a podcast? It was the mouse with the megaphone. And I just loved that visual because
a little bitty like field mouse, but with a megaphone, you know, it's like,
Tiny but mighty.
yeah, I
Yeah.
loved that visual of, you know, because sometimes it does feel like the monkey, beep, 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 you know, chattering, but I was like really taken with that visual because we're all kind of the age, maybe you aren't, you know, you remember the old Sylvester cartoons, you know, and then when he had his son and the kangaroo and the mouse thing, I mean, and then do you remember that?
Yeah.
You know, and then he would be like, father, because every time, you know, Sylvester, the cat would walk around the corner, it was an actual kangaroo. So it was big, but then the kangaroo would hide, or I forget how, but then when the little baby son would go around, it would be a little mouse. He was like, I'm so embarrassed, you know, you can't even deal with a mouse. And he was, but it's big, it's a kangaroo, you know, because in my head, that's what it becomes.
Yeah.
You know, and then when I actually work up my energy and go out and talk to my clients, they're always like lovey-dovey, you know, and like, oh, we love you, Laura, you're so great, and we love our house, and do you want to come in and check out the family room? Because remember, you told us to paint it blue, and we did, and look at it, it's great. And then like at the end, you're like, why was I so fucking scared? And then like the next day, it's like all brand new again. Oh my God, I don't want to talk to anybody. It's like, really? I've been doing this for fucking 19 years. Like, when is the mouse gonna like go to the damn mouse trap and like get its little head cut off? Like, you know, it's ridiculous. It's, and you're so successful and you're so good at these things. And yet, why do we beat ourselves up like this? I don't know. You know, like if I was like a normal W-2 9-to-5-er, like, would I go into my job every single day and be like, I can't do my job today. I can't do my job today, you know, but yet we come into this and every day we're like,
You would.
you know, it's ridiculous.
That's in your head.
Yeah,
That's your self-doubt.
it's ridiculous.
Actually, there is something called imposter syndrome that is feeling anxious and unexperienced in your success internally, despite being highly performing in external and objective ways. This condition often results in people feeling like a fraud and self-doubting their abilities. I think a lot of people have that.
Oh, yeah, I would
Yeah.
agree with that.
I remember the gal who, I don't remember her name, she wrote an amazing book. Was in the computer industry. She was one of the few females like up at Microsoft and like the whole Steve Jobs with, and did Google and did Apple, and like, I forget her name. But her, because I did her audiobook, was the same thing, you know, because she said, you know, she was the only woman usually in these boardrooms with, you know, 30 and 40 men, and that was her problem.
She had imposter syndrome. And
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
from herself.
Right.
There was no one that told her that she wasn't capable or smart enough or experienced enough. She worked her way up there,
Yeah.
but it's in your head.
Yeah.
It is hard.
It is. It's interesting.
All right, so this I have done, other than, I don't know how many appointments I actually went on, but, so back to that.
So back to the first.
So what, like, I'm still waiting on my first sale. So I don't know, how do you project,
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough.
you know? Started at the end of February, so I don't feel too bad.
Average commission,
I put, like, I think in our area, it's somewhere around 5,000 to
5,000,
6,000.
yeah. I
If
put
you're doing like
6,500.
in the 200,000.
I put 6,500.
See, I did 55.
Yeah. Because last year I had some really good sales that were like custom builds and stuff. So like my amount was higher. So when we did this with my coach at the beginning of the year, the average commission is higher than that because it was based on last year.
That's why I just kind of went with 55, because like my usual sale price, I would say is around the 240 mark. So,
And Hanover's prices are a smidgy bit higher than ours.
Yeah, I used to say like 189 was mine, but I think now with over the last couple of years with the prices going up, I'd say it's probably like 250, 240, 220 in that, that range.
Number of listing appointments and buyer appointments.
See, now I don't know that part, but so number of listings sold, both buyer and listing, I was even 19 and 19 last year. And I have 946 names in my database.
How often do you add new names to your database?
That I don't know because my VA does that for me. So like, if I get a lead off of realtor.com, it goes in. So now I also start doing Redfin, so those names will go in. Anytime I get a name with a phone number and email address, even just a mailing address, it'll go in, because she'll try and cross-reference and find a phone number and an email address for them. So. Yeah, so she does find a lot of, now, sometimes they're not always correct because she's going by what she can find, in the
Public
computer.
records,
Yeah.
right?
But she has some program that she has that she can look up a name and then it'll tell you, I don't know.
Like a background check type of thing. or
I don't
like
know what
I
it
do.
is. I have no idea. I just know she does that.
Good. And then what do you do with those names?
She has them on campaigns
Okay,
in Command.
what are those campaigns?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's one thing. Do you know how to set up those things? Because like Katie and I were starting to do that. Like when I came, like not when I first came, because it was all the way too overwhelming, but like right before she left, we were starting to meet on a regular basis. So like she could start to get me like semi.
Established in Command.
Yeah. Do you do that? Is that
Okay.
something we can maybe
Absolutely.
sit down, like set an appointment? Because, everything here is like, you have to back it up, back it up, back it up. So I started with, the stupid ass tags and, like, so I've gotten,
So she
Like,
does all my tags.
people like, so they're all pretty much, I think, like at least tagged with like alphabetical,
Yeah.
like the A and B or C and D or whatever, the, like I have most everybody done with that. And then I need to do like the next step. So could we maybe set up a time for that? Because I think if I could get some of this stuff automated, I would feel like maybe I'm reaching out to my database more.
Most of it is implementation.
Right.
Like once you get it set up, it's really easy to keep going. It's just that initial getting it up and running and getting started, getting motivated, having a process to sitting
even
down
know
and
what
making your calls.
to do. Like when we went to the class, I don't remember even what it was called, with the guy who had the car accident. I thought that day that's what we were going to learn. And then it was just more of the same old. You need to do this. Well, yeah, no shit. Yeah, we know we need to do it. We don't know how to do it. So I think that's something that would help.
Slowing down and actually going through the process of.
Right. Yeah.
it.
Show me how to actually do this.
What's another way that you can touch your clients in your database?
Facebook Messenger.
What do you have down there for me?
Campaigns and Command
Oh,
and
okay.
prospecting and marketing.
As you were saying that. Okay.
Well, anyone.
No,
It can be for
anyone.
anyone.
So I do the AM cards, which is birthday cards and home anniversary cards.
And that's your sphere and past client, like your, okay. Birthday cards
Yeah.
and
So my VA does that as well.
I used to do home anniversary cards when I was in Buffini because it would like come up every month.
Well, it'll
Oh.
come up in command.
Lori did this, you know, she bought 123 Main Street this week, you know.
Yeah, it'll come
6
up
years
in
ago.
command.
But I don't know how to access that in command. So like, since I've been here for 2 years, I haven't sent out one single anniversary card because I have no idea when people bought, because some of that, I don't think any of that data transferred over. So,
Yeah.
you know, like I have no idea. Like how to, like, it's just that kind of stuff. Since I gave up my Buffini that I don't do
Yeah.
that, because I used to do all of that.
You have to slow down. Do you still have that information?
I would probably assume in hard copy somewhere, but I don't have it electronically anymore because I gave up that program.
Right.
Hi, everyone. It's Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Tina. I have a really low tech solution to your anniversary card issue.
Uh-huh.
When I close out the file and submit everything to get paid, I literally write their anniversary card and put a Post-it on the top of it on the day that I have to drop it in the mail. And I have them sitting on my desk. And then every week I just drop the cards for the anniversary of the year before.
I love you.
So I just have a stack of anniversary cards. As I'm like closing out the file, I write the card to them. It's still fresh in my mind because we just closed. Put in my payment for in command so I can get my check, write the card, stamp the card, address the card, put a Post-it on the top the day it has to get dropped in the mail. And then when I, like the beginning of the week of each week on my desk, I just drop all the cards that have to go in for that week.
And then do you put them in command, Nicole, so that for the following year, or do you write a new anniversary card when you drop the old one in the mail?
I only do one. I only do their first home anniversary, but I guess you could do it the low tech way. Just write a new one when you drop the other ones in the mail, but I just do 1 year.
Okay, well, that's something at least.
Or you can learn commands, but I still haven't done that.
Neither have I.
Yeah, well, that is something, you know.
I like the idea of having mixed touches, like
Mhm.
some work or some electronic versus some in the mail. I think it's really nice to get things in the mail that are personalized
do
from an
too.
agent. I think that oftentimes when people open up and not, I think it's just reality is oftentimes when people open up emails, they feel like it's a mass
It's a
market.
mess.
Right,
And that
right.
So I also do Christmas cards every year
Christmas cards are great.
to all my clients. So I send out like, I don't know, like 300 and some. Like, I don't do everybody in command. I just do people that I've done business with.
Okay,
So I send out like 300 and some Christmas cards every year. Well, it grows, but yeah.
Last year I started something new, and I'm going to continue that this year because I got a lot of feedback on it, and it came through an agent in Texas in one of the groups I'm in, and it was a Thanksgiving card instead of a Christmas card.
Yeah, people do that as well.
Because you're the first of the slew that comes through. You don't get lost in the shuffle. And the one that she used that I kind of found and mimicked, I thought it was a little precocious in the beginning. It was like, oh my gosh, but it said, Happy Halloween, Happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, or something like, it was like, kind of covered the season and it was like fallish. And I thought, well, this is a little, you know, whatever. I got so many comments on that because everyone, like, they would either text me, call me, or email me, hey, got your card today. I love it. I'll talk to you in January or February. Because it was kind of like, did ya? You know,
it all.
and I thought they were going to take offense because I was kind of like saying, but it was a beautiful card and it was really nice paper. And I was like, oh my gosh, everybody took it the way it was meant.
Yeah.
Kind of like happy beginning of season. And so I think I'm gonna do those again. Because they weren't just, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year kind of thing.
I also send calendars.
I've done those in the past. I stopped though.
No, I still do.
I love the magnetic calendar. I think that's so great because especially like Andrew used to do one and he would have a recipe.
Yeah.
For each month.
Mhm.
It would be a new recipe and I would keep that on my refrigerator. And when I was ready to sell, I hadn't saved his phone number in my phone for whatever reason. Or I got a new phone, didn't transfer. I got it off the magnet. And I wasn't like wanting to search for somebody else. It was very
Right.
specific. I'm going to, but if I hadn't had that magnet, who knows, I could have just Googled new
Right.
mortgage. And
When I
somebody else
moved
or-
here, because my old team, they were very insistent on doing calendar magnets every year. It was this big, expensive, time-consuming ordeal. And when I came here, I still had several clients that called me and then I would go to their house and they would have like the old, like when, because, they would still be marketing to them. So, here's this Remax thing, and clearly my head is not on it anymore. Like I am not part of that team anymore. But they still associated that calendar with me because of so many years of doing that. And I was like, okay, well, once we list this house, you got to take that down. And they were like, well, why? And I'm like, 'cause that says Remax. And they were like, oh,
It's not-
got it. You know what I mean? But they just associated that with me. So maybe that is something I should maybe re-up. I don't know.
The thing is too, if, like, when I was in ERA, like, we ordered them as an office, so because you ordered so many, the only thing is, like, now I I get mine already done. I
Custom,
don't
yeah.
have to put my card on them and stuff.
Right, yeah.
Where if you order them as an office, though, you can get those bulk prices and get them a lot cheaper. So, I don't
And in the
know.
very, very beginning, when I first started, this is something you might be interested in, is you can actually buy them at MREA, like the little ones, not the big fancier ones, but you can buy the little tiny ones at MREA. And I would sit and watch TV and peel off the sticky part and put my card on it. And you could buy 10 or you could buy 30 or, like you could buy as many as you needed. So it's not like you had a wastage of 2,000 calendars or something. And that's how I started out, like really small.
Well, you don't have to buy, for like Magnet USA, you can buy 100 if you want to buy.
Right.
100. And they're like, I don't know, 59 cents a piece or something
Yeah.
like that. I mean, they're not real
I
expensive,
need to do that. I need to look into that.
so.
So if we need to keep going on the tasks, we can do that separately. But then what you do is you would break that down into a weekly goal. Like, what do I need to do this week to complete
You and I need to
this
sit down and
step
finish all this.
a week? Yes, we do.
Yeah, I think that would be something I would be interested in. Is sitting down and like working on like whatever we each need at this point.
Yeah.
Because I'm not quite as far as that,
Mhm.
but maybe just we can work on command or you can
Yeah,
work with each of us on
absolutely.
that kind of stuff.
I think that when you see this stuff and you don't really think about it, you did a great job doing homework. You have
Yeah.
all of that in your mind. You wanted to have that done. I think it's overwhelming when you look at it all and you didn't even start to think about it. So slowing down to think about the activities that you're doing then rolls into what do I need to continue doing? What isn't working? What is working? What are my expenses that I don't need to have anymore because this isn't working? And it's
Mhm.
talking through those things because we don't slow down to speed up. We just keep going and the thought of struggling through looking at all of my expenses and what was my return on this and this and this and this is just, you just keep going. I'm just gonna keep doing it because I got something from it. But does it actually equate to what you need it to? Or is there something that you can change in that process that cuts the expense? Or is there a better process or a better system that you can switch to that you might have a better return on?
So, well, like I said, I have QuickBooks and I like, so I send them my monthly credit card statement and my bank statement, and then they break it all down. So my VA though is gonna take training on that and learn how to do that for me. And then I can cut QuickBooks out, which is $270 a month.
That's nice.
So
Very good.
that's one more thing I can move to her because I'm already paying her
Right.
and get rid of that.
Right.
So,
Cut a $300.
Yeah.
yes, that's $3,200 a year, almost
Yeah.
$3,300 a year.
Right,
I'll be
yeah.
able to cut out.
Meaner, you know.
And this is the first year I did QuickBooks, but it was getting to the point where I got tired of sitting down in January and going through all my papers because I
Yeah.
had nothing
You weren't keeping up with it month over month.
now. So
Yeah.
then there I am, and who knows what I miss? You know what I
Right,
mean? Because you're
right.
hurrying to get it done. So this was first year I started using QuickBooks, and they actually did everything for my taxes for last year, which worked out great. So then, of course, I continued with them for this year so far. But then I thought, well, why can't she do that in QuickBooks for me?
Right.
So she's gonna learn how, she's
That's
taking a
great.
training, I think, the end of this month.
That's really great. Very good.
Yeah.
So I would have to say my VA is definitely worth the money,
And what do you,
$12.50 a month. But she's full-time, 40 hours a week.
that's great.
And you're not gonna hire anybody around here for 15,000 a year to do what she does.
That's really great.
So
And what do you feel is the biggest, what has changed the most since you have hired her in your business?
it's freed up more of my time as far, and plus like social media, I was not good at that. So she does all my social media. She, like I said, does all my anniversary cards, all my drip campaigns, because I don't know command. I don't know how to do it. So, and I came in when the market went crazy. I came here, so I didn't have time to learn command at that point.
Right.
You know, now I should try and learn it since things have slowed down some. But so yeah, she's just like freed up a lot of frustration as far as that goes as well. And she has given me time that I could make phone calls and don't. So
So we are gonna go through that in goals.
yes,
One thing to keep in mind when you have that much when someone else, if something would happen to her,
I
what
know.
would happen?
I've thought about that because if I lose her, I'm screwed. I mean, seriously,
So-
I am screwed.
Right. Right.
That's why I need to learn command.
Right.
Yes.
Now, I could always shift it to Karen because in the handoffs, because Karen did command for, like, she finished it out for me, but she doesn't do like all the stuff that she does. But worst case, I would get paid.
Well, I can say that, not even that is that, because that would be a short-term fix, right? You would switch
Right.
to Karen, but all of your systems are set up right now.
Yeah.
And
I would
you
have-
need to
what you're
have her
missing is
make a manual.
documenting
Yeah, you need to have her do a
Instructions.
procedural manual.
Well, she can do a procedure manual, but if I don't know how to do it, like, it's not gonna do me a good. to
No,
have that
but if
manual.
you could hand the next
Oh,
person
yeah.
that,
True,
you know what I mean?
This is what
but I still need to learn. how
In
to do
education, we
it.
call it the hit by the bus folder.
yeah,
If I get hit by the bus,
Yeah.
a teacher has to take my place, then they need something right away.
everything in there is gonna tell
Right.
you or the next person exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
So that is something
Yeah.
that's a huge goal that I would have for your VA for by the end of the year is.
Yeah, because that's one of the things, like when I was on a team and we had most amazing admin. And like the 2 weeks she would go to the beach every fall was like, holy shit. You know, but she had that and we literally could pull out the binder and it would be like, how to put in a listing in Bright. And then step 1, click here. Like it was down to like moronic,
Yes.
like nothing was assumed. And
That's
you know,
great.
we did it, you know, and now of course I put in all my own listings. But in the beginning, like if she was gone, it was like how to turn off the photocopier machine and turn it back on when it had an error, how to do this. And it like, it sounds ridiculous. But when you're in a, like we use Top Producer, I don't know anything about Top Producer, you know, but she had it like in the upper left corner, you will click this. And then you will, and it was literally just exactly follow the directions. And it took us, you know, a long time, but we were able to replicate her stuff on a checklist so that when she came back,
She could go back.
she
through
could
and
go back
check.
through and it would be just like,
Mhm.
you know, making sure everything was like legal and
Mhm.
done
Yeah.
appropriate.
Yeah, so like she
know.
does all my contracts now. I read over them
Right.
before I send anything to people, but,
Yeah.
and I do not, like, I know how to do all that and I know how to put my list. So that part I'd still be okay
Yeah.
on. But there's a lot of stuff.
That
Yeah.
she has
Yeah.
riding on her.
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
me. So that
Yeah.
thought scares me because
Yeah.
I've been in that situation multiple times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're like, it really puts it into perspective how much you
Relying
had
on.
on someone else. And I
Right.
don't like. being
And
in
that I don't even know
situation.
what to do with. Do
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right, yeah.
okay.
I would start with having her work on a procedural manual and then send it to you and then give it to somebody else, like not you, but like give it to some total other agent or, you know, and say,
Can you
can you do whatever it is for social media, like
Mhm.
literally, and then send it back to her and say, you know, can you add this step to this step, or you
Mhm.
missed this, or, because that's what you want. If, you know, the hit by the bus thing, if, you know, she gets pregnant, I don't know how old she is, you know, if she gets pregnant and decides to quit, or if,
Well, she has 2 kids now, so I
You know.
think we're past that part.
but if, you know, if shit happens,
Right.
you know, she drops dead, she gets hit by a bus, her parents drop dead and she has to go take care of, you know, like if she quits in one day or even
Yeah.
only gives you a week notice, like what would you do?
Yeah.
You know, that would be my concern. And I think that's why I'm concerned about getting a VA, you know?
Well, that's where you
Yeah.
can start them with that. Everything
Yeah.
that we talk about, I want you to document into a system and a process manual.
Right. See,
And that actually helps them just getting started up front,
right,
because then they really slow down to think about what those steps are,
mhm.
instead of going into autopilot
And just doing it.
Right, and
Right.
just doing,
Right.
it's intentional,
And it's consistent.
yes.
You know, because I tend to be a little bit more fly by the seat of my pants. And,
Yeah.
you know, so like Nicole was saying, you know, to like have it as an actual line item on my to-do list of once I submit my commission check, I'll write out the anniversary card.
Right.
You know, because right now, once I submit my commission, you know, stuff, I write out their tax letter for January. And I print it, well, and I have to talk to you about that. I print it and then I address the envelope, but I don't seal the envelope
Okay.
because stuff happens. Divorces happen
Oh,
and deaths
my
happen and, you know, but I photocopy their HUD and I have my form letter and then I kind of tweak it a little bit, you know, so that it sounds, you know, personal, but I print everything out and I fold it and I stuff it and I address it and I stamp it and it goes in their thing. And then so the first Tuesday of January, they all go in the mail. Like I'll read over them and just make sure that,
It's
You
so
know,
correct.
yeah, you know, that they're still married, you know, nobody's died, because that's embarrassing. But yeah, then I do that, so.
I'm that will be one of your
Yeah, that's,
touches that you do.
mhm. And they're always very grateful for that.
I would say that's really good.
Is that something you do?
I do know.
That's an easy touch.
They have a folder from settlement and I tell them, make sure they keep their HUD and, or their Alta, whatever.
Yep.
For taxes.
I tell them that too, but
And if
it's,
they have questions, they can call me.
yeah, but it's an easy touch and it reminds them that you're a professional realtor. You know, because sometimes like with birthday cards and stuff, I'm very easy going into like the personal stuff, but sometimes it's harder for me to remind them that I am the professional. So the tax letter is like a super easy.
From a business standpoint.
Yeah, yeah.
David's over here like, I just need
Get a client.
to.
I have 2 clients.
It'll happen. It just takes a while.
Yeah,
So I
I have
think
fake clients too.
Did-
I gotta get those out of the community.
fake clients. So you said that you did go over goals. You did do
Yeah.
goals with someone? Okay.
No, I mean, like, sit down with somebody and do actual, I mean, Joe had us do the formula that was up there earlier, like, if we wanted to make 100,000,
Right.
you know, how many buyers and sellers and so forth.
So in a like a 1-3-5, what are the actual things that you're gonna do to accomplish that? Do you have that?
No,
Let's do that. That's a good place to start. It's just the best place to start. And to do year over year, because your goals change constantly. It's the easiest way to bring out the things that you are struggling to remember and think about. So I think it's helpful for everyone to start there. Nicole, what do you say? Are you there?
unfortunately,
Maybe not.
About, what do I say about what?
I have to go.
Goal setting.
Oh, I did goal setting with you and it was a really good exercise.
Yeah.
She told me she thought it was.
So I'll reach out to all 3 of you.
Okay,
Get an appointment set up for goal setting. And then it's custom to each of you because all of these things are custom to where you're at in your business. It's not, I don't feel like it's a blanket, like everyone, it covers everyone. It needs to start individually and then you can think about it in a blanket perspective, but not getting started.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to stand here.
Bye, Nicole.
I appreciate you.
Bye.
Thank you for showing up for us,
Absolutely.
being here since Joe failed on us. Too many responsibilities and too many places. I understand completely. That's why I couldn't